And what barely they brought in a new editor, Robert Parrish, and the director said, because he was so precious about his film, select what you consider to be the center of each scene, put the film in the sync machine, wind down 100 feet before and 100 feet after, drop it off, regardless of what's going on. Cut through dialogue, music, anything. When you're finished, we'll run the picture and see what we got. And that's what they gave for the basis of how they wrote it down to, under 2 hours.
Stop seeing each other, will we?
No.
Because you believe what I tell you.
Because I believe what you tell me.
Good evening, Governor Stark. I thought you might like to know that Judge Stanton kept his promise. He gave the story to every paper in town.
Sugar, meet me at the hotel as soon as you can.
Today is Meet the Champion. Now, the nominations for the Best Picture of the Year are All the King's Men, a Robert Rawson production, Columbia, Battleground, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, The Heiress, Paramount, A Letter to Three Wives, 20th Century Fox, and 12 O'Clock High, 20th Century Fox. The envelope, please. The winner, All the King's Men, Robert Rawson, Columbia.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chicago Cinephiles podcast. I am your co-host, Daniel. Joined with me, as always, is the lovely James and the lovely Stephen. How we doing today, fellas?
We're lovely.
I am very lovely.
We're peachy keen, jelly bean.
So pretty.
Lovely. What I am is lovely. Y'all don't even know that's a song.
We're going to get copyright struck because Stephen's singing so great. Anyway, welcome back. If you're returning, we appreciate it. This is Chicago Cinephiles podcast, where we every week we have a randomizer where it determines what won a certain year, and we talk about the movie, should it have won, if not, what should have won. And then we obviously then do the wheel for the next week. This week, it is July 4th. So happy July 4th to everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying their safe and fun time out on the lake or barbecuing or just getting that extra nap in or whatever. But we just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving, happy 4th of July from the Chicago Cinephiles team here.
Nap time.
Yeah, nap. Which, to be fair, some of the movies that we've watched pretty much put us in a nap. That being said, let's move on to this movie. This is the 1949 movie, All the King's Men. So for those of you that don't know, what we do is we kind of do some of the facts at the beginning, and then we talk about a little bit of the summary, go over what was going on during the world, also some fun facts, and then I said at the end we kind of go over should it have won, yes or no. So let's go ahead and get those boring facts out of the way. So as I mentioned, this was for the 1950 Oscars. All the King's Men, released by Columbia Pictures. It was a book originally, 1946 book by Robert Rosen of the same name. That was based on Huey Long, who was the Louisiana governor at the time. So you guys can go do some research on that. But yeah, so the stars in the movie, Broderick Crawford played Willie Stark. John Ireland played Jack Burden. Joanne Drew played Ann Stanton. John Derrick played Tom Stark. And Mercedes McCambridge played Sadie Burke. So those are a list of the main people. Those are the ones you will see if you look at the movie poster. You'll see those guys there. Had a budget of about $2 million, which is about $27 million inflated for today's, and it made box office about $54 million for inflation, about 4.2 million their money, but about 54 million in today's.
Wow.
Was nominated for 7 Oscars, and it did win. It won Best Picture, obviously, Best Actor, which was Broderick Crawford, which is Willie Stark. And then Best Supporting Actress, Mercedes McCambridge playing Sadie Burke. And more impressively, this was her debut film. So I know not many people can say that. So that's pretty impressive. It also was nominated for Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Best Writing, and Best Film Editing. In 2001, the Library of Congress deemed that it was culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant and selected for preservation. We've had a few of those in the past, so this is just kind of adding on to that. And so essentially, those are just the facts. It was released November 8th, 1949. So it's kind of weird that, or it's not weird, but it's kind of interesting that it was released pretty late in the year for it to win the Oscar for that coming. It was only out for a few months. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But now we're going to really get into the nitty gritty and the real interesting part. And Stephen is going to give us a summary of the movie. So, Stephen, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
The interesting part. Wah, wah. Let's see. In this film adaptation of Robert Penn Warren's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, All the King's Men tells the story of Willie Stark, a simple, honest, idealistic lawyer fighting the corrupt political bosses in his sleepy dirt road town. Stark wins the support of the people by promising to improve public services and build new highways, better schools, and hospitals with medical services free to everyone. However, once elected governor, Stark becomes intoxicated by the power of his dictatorial office and wallows in the unprincipled and corrupt means to maintain it. The film explores the corrosive effects of unchecked power and the compromises individuals make in their pursuit of political ambition.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. All righty. So that being said, this is one of the very, very few rare movies that none of us had seen going into it. If I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, but none of us had seen that, correct?
No.
Nope.
So we all had not much opinions, in my opinion, because this is not one of those movies where it's like, oh, I've never seen West Side Story, but I know what Tonight is, or I know the scene with the switchblades or whatever. Like, you kind of culturally, these things. So that being said, James, I'll start with you. What was your any feedback that you knew or any initial thoughts heading into it?
I mean, I knew almost nothing about this film. I was like going in it blind, seeing what it's about. No expectations. It was interesting is what I'm going to say for right now. It was interesting.
Stephen, did you have any initial thoughts? Because I know you're more of the Turner Classic Movie guy, so you might have seen bits and pieces here and there. But
I had never seen any of it. I just knew that it was sort of based on the political career of Huey Long, and I'd seen a great PBS documentary, Ken Burns documentary about Huey Long. It's fabulous if you get a chance to see it. It's from a while back, but that was all I really knew.
Yeah, same. I didn't know much about it either. I had no idea. You don't really, sometimes these 40s films, not to be, whatever, but you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know if you're going to hit a Cimarron, which to be fair was a 20s, but you don't know if you're going to get like a classic like Casablanca, or if you're going to get a struggle. So that being said, before we get into the trivia, I want to kind of talk about what was going on during that time period. So obviously 1949, we were just coming out of World War II. So that was still kind of looming over. I know it had been a few years, but obviously that's still on everyone's mind, especially with the Cold War about to be starting up and just kind of some uncertainties and whatnot. So in April of that year, the NATO pact was signed. In May of that year, Death of a Salesman wins Pulitzer Prize.
Wow.
That was kind of neat. In June, George Orwell's 1984 is published. In July, for all you flying fans out there, the first commercial jet makes the first test flight.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine flying in 1949. Like, I hate flying in 2025. Like, get out and push. In July, the NBA, or National Basketball Association, was established. And then in October, dictator Mao Zedong proclaimed the People's Republic of China. So I just kind of wanted to give, like, in my head, and I know me and Steven discussed this before. I don't know if, James, how you feel this way, but to me, 1949 to 1950 in my head is not that long ago until you start saying, like, the first commercial jet, the first NBA game, the first, Mao Zedong comes into power. Like, I don't really associate the 40s being almost 100 years. I mean, it's not, but it's like, 85, 90 years ago. That isn't, like, my brain doesn't process that still, because I still believe, like, 20 years ago was the 80s, even though it wasn't, obviously.
Trust me, it wasn't.
20 years ago was 2005. Just to make
yeah, like,
feel terrible about
my 20th graduating class is next year, and I'm dreading it. So,
are you gonna go? You should go.
No. So now we'll move into the fun trivia. I do have one fun tribute that I do want to bring up,
Oh,
and then
cool. Where is it?
I usually don't step in, but I'll hop in this one. Like I thought it was too funny. Apparently, Broderick Crawford did basically the entire acting drunk, so he could stay in character. So I thought it was really like he did a great job because I didn't even notice that he was drunk. Like he didn't really. So like
That means he's not an alcoholic. He's a professional.
Exactly.
That's what he is.
Your dad knows all about that.
Just saying.
So maybe he should get an Emmy or an Oscar for that as well. But I just want to give that. I thought that was interesting. Like I didn't realize that he was basically drunk the entire time, and that's how he was able to stay in character. And that also kind of shows you how crazy Huey Long as a character is. That he had to be he had to be drunk just to come across, because we've had some crazy people in our movies that we've watched so far, and for him have to be like so spastic and sporadic, he had to drink. Just had to throw that out there. But
I mean,
now
Huey Long was the person who said the New Deal is not enough. And he was so left, he was right. I mean,
yeah.
He sort of helped Roosevelt get in office, and then criticized him for not doing enough. Like he would be very at home in our woke world today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's like you always say, Stephen, like a good politician, and we don't want to get in politics here because that's not what we're here for. But this is true for whatever side you're on in the aisle. A good politician can read the room, and they know I can't say this now. And I think that's what, like you said, Huey Long wanted FDR to do that, but FDR, like, for example, like he couldn't go into World War II right away because the American people didn't want it. They had a 9% approval rate of that. So, like, that to me, like, that's a downfall for Huey and ultimately, Willie here. But
Lend Lease, which is hilarious. Lend Lease. We'll just give you some warplanes. They may come back destroyed,
right?
We'll lend it. People bought it.
No, they leased it.
That's right. Here's my ladder. When it comes back, it will be burnt singe.
We didn't buy it. We leased it. No, all right. So you guys, y'all are the better at finding random facts or trivia. So give us some trivia. Give the fans what they're craving.
I just have the first one here. It made me laugh. Mercedes McCambridge, as we said, she was up for Best Supporting Actress, won for her first film, was cast after she got angry with the producers. They were kept in a waiting room in New York City during open auditions, and she was so angry, she told the producers off and stormed out. They called her back and eventually cast her because she fit the part perfectly.
I love that.
I mean, I love that. You know what? I've had it.
I love when stuff like that happens.
What about you, James? Do you have a stuff?
I got a couple things. So All the King's Men. You know how it's probably one of the shortest movies we've done on this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Oh, yes.
The length that it was originally going to be. Daniel, do you know this? Sounds like Steven knows this trivia.
I don't.
4 hours long. And it was so long.
The first edit.
And first edit. And it was, I think,
oh my God.
The person who edited this could have learned something, the great Ziegfeld could have learned from him. But it was 4 hours. And they weren't going to originally show the movie because the person didn't want to cut it at all to create a coherent narrative because he filmed so much that the only reason this movie was released is because they got it down to like the 2 hour mark.
Really?
Otherwise it wouldn't have been released because the studio's like, no, we're not putting a 4 hour movie out there.
Good.
This is not Lord of the Rings.
This is not Wicked.
This is not Wizard of Oz. I mean, like, let's put it more at that time period. Like, this is, or Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Ben-Hur.
So so they cut it down to what it is now, which I think
that's
is
crazy.
Much better.
Yeah,
I cannot imagine what 4 hours would have been like.
They should have hired this, like the great Ziegfeld should have hired this guy, whoever cut it. Like,
yeah.
Just so you know, the All the King's Men, the book is about 470 pages. So I can see where they had the source material to make it 4 hours. But just like Lord of the Rings, which are fantastic books, by the way, if they didn't cut the books down or like the movies down, they would be 6 to 8 hour book or movies. Like they're already 4 hours now. They would be double that because there's so much in those books.
No, and P.S. The book is mainly about the reporter as opposed to the politician.
That's
But they
cool.
changed the focus for the film. I mean, and what apparently they brought in a new editor, Robert Parrish, and the director said because he was so precious about his film, select what you consider to be the center of each scene, put the film in the sync machine, wind down 100 feet before and 100 feet after, drop it off, regardless of what's going on. Cut through dialogue, music, anything. When you're finished, we'll run the picture and see what we got. And that's what they gave for the basis of how they brought it down to, under 2 hours.
Which
Are you
I wonder
listening?
if the
The great
I
Zetfield.
wonder if also that how the length of the movie and how much footage they have is because apparently the director didn't let him have a script. He would let him read it once.
Yep.
And basically that was it. Like I would be
So it was improv
so
night,
fired from that
basically.
movie.
How is
Yeah.
that possible? Like you have to memorize the scenes. So like, how do you
I mean,
know?
it worked, in my opinion. Maybe it was like the scenes were maybe they were organically, so it worked. You know what I mean? It's
I mean, in the old days when we did a musical, you only got the lines you had. You get the line before your line.
really.
I swear to God, you get your sides. So I'm like, you're not. How are you going to know what the hell's happening? I thought that was what it was. No, here's the script. No, go away. Like what? What?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And can you
Yeah,
just
I did read
imagine
that somewhere.
one of your people is drunk the entire time? Like the guy's drunk and gets to read it once. Like
Okay.
I don't know, like how that wasn't a
It
train wreck.
makes
Maybe that's why they
to me it makes Willie Stark's Broderick's performance more impressive if that's the case.
Yeah.
Whether you like the movie or not, you have to admit he was really good at what he did.
And all I knew of Broderick Crawford was there's a line in Smokey the Bandit when the Sheriff Justice is like arguing with this guy, and the guy says, "I don't care if you're Broderick Crawford." I had no idea who Broderick Crawford was, so I was like, "Oh, it's nice to put a name to a face."
Well,
I also love that they hired extras that they gave speaking parts to, and would film rehearsals to get more of a spontaneous effect from people.
Wow.
Which is really good. And did you know that this was offered to John Wayne, and he basically told him what to do and where to go with it because he thought it was an anti-American movie.
I mean, it kind of is.
Well, there you go.
It would be weird to see John Wayne on it.
It's funny because then Broderick Crawford went on to win the Best Actor against John Wayne for Sands of Iwo Jima. So listen, Wayne.
Which is a good movie, by the way.
It is.
But yeah, so I want to get into this. So like this kind of ties into it. For me, like I don't usually notice this very often, but like I have to give credit to the name of the movie or the book. I really appreciate the like not play on words because it's not a play on word, but I guess the wittiness. I just appreciate it because you could just name this Willie's or you could just name this, politician goes rogue or whatever. But like they chose it because it's from the Humpty Dumpty like rhyme. All the king's men from Humpty Dumpty. And so it's like it's a metaphor in my opinion where it's like they couldn't put him back together no matter how hard they tried. They could not put the Willie Stark that they all knew and loved back together. And probably maybe even the Willie Stark that he knew and loved at one point back together. So I just wanted to give a shout out and see if you guys, maybe you don't, maybe it's just me giving a little extra, but I just really appreciate the name of this movie. Like All the King's Men, to me, it's just like, I just really appreciate it. And for some reason I thought it was biblical at first too, but it's not obviously, but I just initially went there. And then obviously I knew the Humpty Dumpty part, but I just really appreciate it. I don't know. I just want to give a shout out to that. Kudos to Robert.
And it works on a lot of different levels. The King's Man. He's not a king. It works on a lot of different levels.
Yeah,
and he's fat,
his own kingdom.
So he's
in
like
his eyes, he is.
He's broken eggs. He's fat.
Yeah.
But I like the French name of this movie, All the King's Fools.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's apparently the French name.
Apparently don't have Humpty Dumpty over there in France.
That's cool. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give a shout out for that. So I think this movie we talked about a minute ago started out pretty cool when it came to being positive about America. Whether I'm not saying it was fully anti-American, obviously, but the beginning of it was like basically saying like you could be wherever you want to be. Like he studied to be a lawyer. Like name another country where you can do that. And I will still to this day, I know this may not be popular this day and age, and it's July 4th, but I don't care. I'm going to say this. I am proud to be an American, and I am proud. And I think that like this country like gives the best opportunities for the that you're going to get in this world. It's not perfect by any means, but this is an example right here where else can you go and learn to be a lawyer at night in a podunk town? Because that hits home for me. I'm from a very small town. Where can you go to then be governor one day and like in your head king? Like no other country can give you that. And so I just want to say that I feel like this was a great start of the movie. What do you guys think?
I would agree with you. If you don't like this country, go out of it for a while, and you'll love it after you when you're sitting in some other country. Right
Yeah,
away.
Steven can give examples where AK-47s in the airport, and you're like, whoa, it's like,
trust me, I know. Can we go home now, please? But yeah, I think you're right. It is a sort of a wonderful way to show how much opportunity is here, and how you can go from someone, Isn't it interesting though that we have Huey Long and we also have Bill Clinton, these sort of small town, politics. Of course, Bill was, on a different trajectory, but they both had these issues in their political campaigns. They both sort of did things to sort of wreck their political careers, I would say. Almost intentionally. I think with Huey and also Willie, it's sort of he got, he bought into his own hubris. I mean, he believed the charm of his own ego, and just sort of, was loving all the power, and knew he was doing good as long as his name was on it. That killed me. I'll give you a hospital. My name's going to be on it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So yeah, I agree with you. It's very pro-American, but it shows
it's a good start. Like the movie started off really well, but James,
I think every president goes into office and goes, well, how I'd love to do all of this stuff.
They want to be better. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it starts off like, we're thinking about this. This is like still the Gilded Age of the 1930s is when this book was set. So you're thinking about like the access and corruption that was the Gilded Age. So you're getting that premise, and of course stuff happened where they would, do all those terrible things, like, corporate protections came and all that stuff. But I don't know. I think of this movie as someone who grew up in Illinois. Politicians like flip a coin. Our governor's going to jail, so flip a coin.
You're right.
I have an under impression that all politicians are probably somewhat a little corrupt. Like, it's just, what have they done for the people? And that's kind of where I'm more flexible. Like, I think my favorite thing ever is when Jon Stewart had the Daily Show, and when Mayor Daley ripped up Meigs Field in the middle of the night, and he interviewed everyone in Chicago and said, aren't you mad that he just did this without any repercussions, whatever? No, he's gonna put a park there. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, and they could not comprehend how everyone in Chicago was just cool with it. They're taking away an airport for a bunch of rich people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that upbringing has made me think of politicians in this way where.
Well, just think more of Willie. This is not him a politician yet. This is him. So I'm just talking about this is him being able to be a lawyer, go from nothing to a lawyer. That's what I mean.
Well, you could do that in most of the Western countries on the planet. You could.
Not in 1930.
Well, the UK, France, all those.
Even that you can't because if you remember back to one of our episodes of My Fair Lady, one of the commenters said they still have the class system over there. It's still a thing. So you can't. I mean, I really don't think it's as easy as we think it is. I think we take that for granted way too much.
Yeah.
But I see your point, though. Obviously, corruption, power corrupts people regardless. So, eventually a lawyer can be corrupt, or anybody can be corrupt, or a Nurse Ratched. The power, the power struggle. Imagine if Willie and Nurse Ratched got in a room. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that conversation.
But yeah, no, I just I like how it started off, and then unfortunately the like tragedy with the kids, that's sort of what it's kind of weird. Like I had forgotten about that until I was reviewing my notes. It happened so early in the movie, and so much had happened for me to like not like him. I had forgotten that he was the lawyer that represented the kids when the staircase fell and killed those dozen kids or whatever. Like, and had that not happened, he probably would have been a nobody. He would have just been a lawyer at his home, in his town. What do you guys think?
I would imagine so, but then,
Or do you think he would have like made a name for himself, like you always say, like Judy Garland? No matter what universe she's in, she's gonna make a name for herself because she's Judy effing Garland.
Yeah, but I don't think the spark would have been lit under Stark.
Agreed.
Stark.
Yeah.
Because what really gave him the ability to sort of communicate with the people was when he realized he'd been duped.
Yep.
And that's when he went, okay, forget this. I'm talking to my voice. I'm a hick. You're a hick. Wouldn't you like to be a hick? He was just saying it and speaking from his heart. And that's what really resonated with people.
Yep.
And what also resonated with him at that moment was that I can't get here because he lost the first election. I can't get here without playing the game. So I'm going to play the game for good.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's what he thought. And I'm going to play it better than you.
Yeah, but I'll do it for some good reasons. But, power corrupts. That's why I've never sought power.
That's why I've always been a low mountain totem pole, because I'm so humble.
Because if you're going to fall off of a ladder, fall off a low rung.
So this is a deep question, James. I'll let you start this one. Why do we think that human nature is so easily corruptible? Obviously, like I think he had good intentions initially, like we said. Maybe he didn't. Maybe this was all part of his plan. But like, I really think he had good intentions initially, and then he got corrupted. Like, why do you think that? Why is it so difficult for just humanity as a whole? And maybe you want to focus on Willie. That's fine. Just so easily corruptible. It really is. Like, I'll give an example and then I'll shut up. Like, I always tell the story of Billy Graham, the Reverend, is one of the very few preachers that I can say that if you Google him, there's not going to be any scandals about him. Why are we praising him for that? That should be a duh thing. Yeah. But the amount of televangelists and whatever that steal money or shut the doors on people, it's crazy. And so, like, to me, it's just like human nature is so, like, it's ingrained in us to be that way. Like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's so easy that we're corruptible? James, I'll start with you.
Think about it. Anytime, I think people are the sum of their experiences. So depending on how that person is, like their experiences, how kind of form how they're going to turn out. Like possibly you're just, people can change and people can do 180s. Don't get me wrong. But like he was born into like his political awakening and was that schoolhouse. That was his moment. So that was a horrible tragedy. He wanted to do something about it. So he could have gone either way in the movie. He could have been this great man of the people without being corrupted, or he could have been corrupted. I'm under the impression, it's a great Doctor Who line, I'm going to quote it. It is the privilege of lesser men to ignite the spark to create men that are created in fire. Great men are created in fire. Something like that. So I think that it's basically when men are created in fire, lesser men that enter the spark, and depending on how their experiences are, it's how they're going to turn out. Like you're either going to be, you live long enough to become a villain, or you you die young as a hero. Like I don't know. That's just my thing. It's hard. You just don't know how people are going to pan out.
Uncle Ben, what's the saying? Great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Steven, what about you? You got anything, or you want to add that?
All I could think was, for the first of us, if you believe the Bible, we're tempted by an apple. All God said was, don't just eat that one thing. That one thing.
Always the fruit.
Always. Yes, it is. You like it? But, I think that there's also something that if you think you're doing this for a good reason, there are so many psychological studies that say if you're doing something that sort of has a negative or an evil sort of bent, but if you're doing it for a good reason, people will justify it in their minds. You can look at study after study after study that will say, well, I'm cheating, but I'm cheating because it's going to benefit someone in a good way. So that's okay. That kind of thing.
Yeah, or you're like just cheating the system, or I'm just cheating the big guy. I'm cheating the government. They're not going to miss it, or whatever. Yeah, I get you. They
justify the
downplay.
means.
They was like Nurse Ratched. If you could interview her, she would say she was a good person.
And I think that one of my favorite Freudian terms is reaction formation. I mean, it's this sense of things are bad, and you can make your mind believe that actually, like if you move to New York and it's all the pea stained subways and there's garbage in the streets, and there no alleys, you'd go, well, it's great because we're just everything is right there on the street, and you'll just sort of flip it to where everything is great in your head, even though you hate it. And you've moved here to spend all this money, but you're going to make your brain. P.S. New York is great, but whatever. But but
you're gonna make yourself like it, so you don't feel like it's a mistake. Yeah.
I think there's that too. That he was sort of making this flip in his head. I'm not a bad guy. Sure, I'm doing exactly what these other people are doing, but I'm doing all this good with it. And as long as I stay in power, I can continue doing good and put my name on every building that I build.
Yeah, I think it becomes like the evil that I think he may have thought it was the evil that he knew like. With him in power, he knew. But no, I agree. That's a very deep conversation. Obviously, it's not even related to this book. I just kind of want to dig a little deeper, get y'all's thoughts on it, because I like to have those conversations. So I appreciate you guys giving that feedback. So we're going to kind of move into some things I just want to discuss. Mainly, like, about halfway through the movie, there's a scene where Willie Stark is there and the judge comes in. That just screamed like The Godfather, where they basically were like, that's when I realized the flip had switched. That the old Willie wasn't there no more. He was like, "Oh, you're not going to do it, huh?" It's like, you better drink because you're about to hear what I'm about to tell you. Like, to me, that really showed like his downfall started like really bad. In my opinion, that was when it was like obvious to me that he was just like completely corrupt. Not that he just had a bad taste in his mouth with the doctor, but like he actually like was going after other sort of neutral people, for lack of a better term. Like I know they weren't neutral, but like they weren't. I don't think he wronged him as much as he thought the doctor did, type deal. So like I just thought that scene was really cool. I just wanted to bring that up.
Plus, all the stuff that happened to him, he was sort of kicked off of the street corner and couldn't get his hand outside. So this is the game.
Yeah.
This is the game, and this is how you play it. And he realized that and started playing the game better than everybody else, to win. So, I mean, I don't know. It's not that it's a good game.
Yeah. Also, I feel like he was not only a bad person, but I think he was a bad dad, obviously. So let's go ahead and talk about the scene where, even beforehand, at first, again, to go back to the beginning, they adopted him. So that's a positive thing. But then, obviously, his son gets drunk and wrecks and severely hurts the female in the car with him. And the dad Willie basically makes that guy disappear. We find out later that he was found beaten to death because he wouldn't take the bribe, basically. But it gets worse. Not only that, to me, Tom showed that he did have a sense of, because he wanted to stand up and say, "I'm sorry" to the guy, to the father. Yeah. That's tough. But then, now I understand they didn't know about concussions in the 30s and the 40s. I get that. But like doctors, I'm sure probably like they knew something. They had to know something was wrong with Willie or with Tom when they sent him in there and had him play football and then get paralyzed. And then instead of blaming himself, he gets mad at the doctor because the doctor's not the specialist that he wants. Like, can you stop thinking about yourself for 2 seconds, please? Yeah. What did you guys think about that whole like scene? Like, I actually some of the scenes I thought were kind of like unnecessary, but I really appreciated this scene because I think it really showed just how far he had fallen from grace.
I mean, I agree with you. Like, just using his family. Like when he drives up and he's got his son in the wheelchair, and there's his wife who he hasn't seen probably in a year and a
Yeah.
half, and he's going to have this little photo shoot. He's totally using that family.
Yeah.
See, bye. Bye. Thanks for the photo shoot.
Okay, I'm hot take. Do you think that because like clearly the son was going to go into the way of his dad, like before the accident, right? He was going to become like I had a feeling like his trajectory was going to be kind of similar to his dad's. Like he was going to be probably corrupt. He probably did some good things for the people to keep his popularity and stuff like that. Like hot take. Do you think the accident slash when he was on the football field, not the car accident, made him a better person, even though he paid for it by getting paralyzed? I know he doesn't like. We can
I
widely
think
speculate because it's like he's like only a few seconds after that movie in the but
I think
I
so.
don't know.
I mean, I think he realized what he'd done and was ready to take responsibility for it. I
Yeah.
did this, and when I'll take, and I have to say I did it, and no matter what his father said, I mean that's bold.
Yeah. Well, it's like James, like you said, like I think he was going down that path, and I think also that he probably was not used to being told no. We've all known spoiled rich kids, and we've also had those. I mean, not to like, I don't have an example of this, but you see in the movies a lot of times where the quarterback ends up breaking their back, and then they become a better person. So I do think that like tragedy can bring the best out in people. It also can bring the worst out, obviously. But like, I think I agree. Like, it makes you wonder, James. Like him being in a wheelchair and him like being humbled. How many more
Mhm.
lives is he going to change because he's that figure? Maybe he's a positive figure on people as opposed to him being a corrupt politician.
Or how many lives he could have taken out in the next accident, next
True.
car accident.
Yeah,
And,
and it's
and it
and
also
never
shows
themselves. Unfortunately, it's never them. It's always they always kill the family of five, but never the drunk.
it always shows us how little empathy that Willie has to say he's not going to, my God, my son has, killed somebody, my God, and after his son is paralyzed, he's still going to use
Mm-hmm.
that disability for his own gain. I mean, he only cares about himself, which is rather psychotic,
And
you
it
know.
didn't really. I don't think I don't think the father of the daughter. I don't think his reaction deemed getting beat to death. I mean, obviously no one does, but like his reaction was very justified. Like your son messed up. Period. Like, and his son was willing to say it. Like, I don't think he'd come in trying to blackmail him. Like, honestly, if
Hmm.
he probably did, he probably would have hired him to be on his staff. But like, like, I don't think that, and I think that shows just how corrupt and how evil Willie was.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, but if that guy even filed something for the boy to, then of course if he's beaten up to where he can't really move, he can't really file any injunctions, can he?
But he was
So
beat to death. So yeah,
well, there you go. That'll stop you completely.
that'll stop you. Last time I
I don't
checked,
know. Even if you've hired a lawyer, they can't get hours on you. They'll drop the case. I mean, I don't know if you knew that.
Um, but yeah, so I just kind of thought that was important. This movie, okay, let's kind of get into it because I know like some people don't like this movie. It's not that highly rated. So I do want to talk about before we get into our opinions on it. I do think there's a few reasons why this movie is not critically acclaimed. I think to me, there's as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of sidetracks. I don't understand. Like for me, the love triangle was so stupid between Anne, Adam, and Willie. So unnecessary. I didn't even know. Like I didn't even pick up on. I was like, wait, what? And then, like it just took me a minute to pick up on it. It's like it just. I think that's like to me that and the length would, which obviously if it would have been the 4 hours.
Mhm.
I just don't know, like, because to me, I don't think this was that bad of a movie, but I just think, like, wonder why people don't think it's better,
I
because I
would
thought the
say that
acting was good in it.
acting is great. I just feel like there's just missing, and maybe it's on purpose. I don't know, but maybe it was cut something that shows. And I don't know how you would do it unless it was in a voiceover. Shows how he decided to change. I mean, it sort
Mm-hmm.
of happens rather quickly in my mind. That he goes from this to this to this, and if there'd been something that someone had talked with him about, so where you see that the only way I can do this is by doing this. But it's sort of like describing the change in thought, the change in his mind. That would have, I think, made the character, because as it is right now, he's just.
There's not that road to Damascus moment like you see in the Bible, where like God comes down and says, "Turn away, go back," and then Saul becomes Paul and becomes one of his greatest chancellors. But yeah, I agree. It's like there wasn't that moment where you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. He was shoved into a locker. This is his evil arc story. I get it now.
I mean, this movie reminded me a lot. If you've ever seen it, of Primary Colors. Have you ever seen Primary Colors? I don't want to. It's a movie that they made. I think it was during the Clinton administration, about the Clintons, first campaign and for president. And it's got John Travolta as Bill Clinton, a Bill Clinton type, and there's a whole moment where they bring this person in to sort of do, sort of like to find out something about their opponent, and they find out something horrible, and they decide to use it. And the person who found the information is stunned because she thought better of them. Because it's such a horrible, what they find is so horrible.
Oh, okay.
That she thinks that, well, of course they will never use this. And they go right without even blinking. And it shows, and it just destroys her, that's who they are at this point. If there was something like that in this movie where you saw, wow, you have completely, of course, I think we get that later with his son.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. What do you think, James? You've got that thinker, that Rodin look on your face.
Okay, so I think we're getting to the point about where the movie is like, it just feels flat. The movie feels flat. Just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, there's no three-dimensional to it. It's all very surface level. That's how I think of this movie. Like, there's no like you said, it just flips a switch. Like, he becomes cartoonishly corrupt. Maybe in those other 2 hours of the film we get more of an explanation, but
or the book maybe,
we have. So I don't know. I just think it's a flat movie.
A little flat.
You know what I mean?
Like for me, what makes me, because we'll get into it. I actually enjoyed this movie, but what made me like it, I wouldn't probably want to watch it again, but what made me like it was the scenes. Like, I do want to talk about this, and we can kind of get into the should it have won, yes or no. But the final shot, I think, was some of the best scenes. Like one of the best shots whenever we're looking over Willie's shoulder, and we see Jack with his hand in his pocket, and after he basically, you can tell that Jack has realized that he's a corrupt person. I legit thought that Jack was gonna shoot him. I thought it was going to be Jack that was going to do it, because I knew the story about Huey Long being assassinated. I knew that, but I thought it was going to be Jack. Did you guys think it was going to be Jack? And like, did you guys have like? I was on the edge of my seat for those like 2 minutes or 30 seconds. Like, to me, that was a fantastic scene where the camera was just over the shoulder, almost like a angel devil type situation. I thought it was fantastically shot.
I would agree.
That was a good shot. Like,
no.
And I think that's, and maybe that's why I like it, because to me, I think some of the scenes are very memorable. Like the scene with the judge, where you just hear the gunshot go off, like very memorable, And I mean, I just didn't expect the doctor to be the. I kind of was hoping it was going to be Jack, honestly, because I feel like that would have been more like poetic, and that would have made. I think that would have hurt him more, Willie more.
Oh yeah.
But to kind of to wrap that up though, what was Willie's final words? He talked about himself in third person. That just shows you my man was gone. He was delusional.
And one thing I want to bring up is this movie reminds me so much of, I think, a better movie, A Face in the Crowd. You ever see The Face in the Crowd, James? 1957, Elia Kazan was.
See, this is why Steven's here, because I love these kind this is the kind of stuff I love. Yeah, go ahead, Steven. Tell us about it.
It's Andy Griffith, and he's sort of a small town, or he's like a small southern guy who's on the radio, just singing some songs, and he starts getting sort of picked up for doing commercials, and then he starts becoming political, and then you see that human turn in that movie. It's an incredible performance by Andy Griffith. And you think of him as the Andy Griffith Show and Matlock. No. watch this movie. You will be stunned by what he can do. And so it shows that you can have this sort of story, but you can have this. It's ghastly what he's able to do on film, and he's just a good old boy singing some songs and making people feel good. And wow, does it get ugly? And it shows it so specifically, and it can be done. Why A Face the Crowd wasn't nominated for anything is beyond me. But trust me, watch A Face the Crowd.
It's a good recommendation. Thank you for that.
I mean,
because I really like the premise of this movie. So I guess we'll kind of get into it. James, I know you sent me some text messages, so I'll kind of start with you. Maybe you've already talked about it, but is there anything else you want to add to it? I mean, being flat's pretty good, like negative feedback, but is there anything else you want to? I just want to make sure you got your thoughts out before we move on, to me and Steven's opinions.
It is flat. I agree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The actors and being off script, I have some more respect for that, but I didn't know that at the time I was watching this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I found it kind of boring. And I'm usually all about those political thrillers. And I don't know. It was maybe because it was too flat, maybe because it was trying to do too many, it had too many roles and too many different things going on. I thought the love triangle felt tacked on.
Yeah, I think I agree.
And maybe the edit really did that. Maybe the edit took a lot of some of the life or spark out of some scenes that would have made a little bit more interesting and a little more sense. I don't know.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of I hate to use this word, but I've seen a lot of Gen Zers talk about this movie, and they actually, this is one of the very few movies from the 40s that they say was action-packed, riveting, kept them on their edge of their feet or edge of their seat, which is kind of shocking because, like you said, James, you can appreciate maybe some of the duller movies, but you usually find the good in every movie. So I do think I do think the fact that even you have a hard time finding joy in it shows that the movie didn't hit its goal, basically, if that makes sense. I mean, because you get good feedback about Cimarron, you know what I mean,
if you want to see this movie, yes, it's one of the Oscar winners. You want to see all that, yes, by all means, watch it. Do you ever need to see that again after saying you've watched all of the Oscar films? No. I'm not going to rewatch this, or after this movie, after this episode, I'm probably going to forget about this movie.
I would read the book, and I think there was a 1996 version of the movie too. But I would read the book, honestly, because the book is kind of, I think there's enough there to where it can be interesting.
Meryl Streep was apparently going to be in the remake, but she turned it down or something.
Wow.
But
she was going to play Sadie, believe it or not.
So then, James, we obviously know your thoughts. Steven, you said it was flat. We kind of all agreed now that James said that, but did you like it, or what was your take on it?
I enjoyed it. I felt like there was some beats missing, some acting beats that would have explained to me, and that's a lot in the writing, and I think a lot in the, maybe not in the writing, but a lot in the cut, the edit. That just not there. It's still riveting because of what Roderick Crawford could bring to it.
Yeah,
in his state, because he studied films of Huey Long, and he's really giving good Huey Long in this thing.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I agree. I liked it, but like you said, the voiceover thing, do what they did in Citizen Kane. Talk about it, do the play over. How it's show newspaper articles of him getting rejected or whatever. Do the montage. Do it. You know what I mean?
Do it. I agree. Ballet when you walk around the streets of New York and that'll be good. No, it's wrong.
Daniel, you bring up a great point. What could have saved this movie, in my opinion, is a good old-fashioned 80s workout montage.
Right?
Maybe on the beach, maybe a workout on the beach, maybe something
maybe somebody running up some stairs, doing the Rocky.
Rocky and Apollo Creed on the beach in their sneakers,
Exactly.
No, I mean,
the dance video would be something.
Because if you made an hour and a half or hour and 40 minutes and did a montage of him showing him getting rejected or him constantly, like you said, the arc of him becoming, what was that moment where he became the villain? There's always those, Star Wars, prime example. Anakin becomes bad because he tries to save Padme and tries to save Luke and Leia. There's a reason someone changes. It's not just, I'm a bad guy now. There's a reason. And I agree. It was just not fleshed out.
Oh, Daniel, you just made me think of something. Could this movie be saying is don't know when you become evil, you just are. It's a slow transition.
Yeah,
is that what now you're making me think of? Like, oh, since we can't point, where is the evil? Because we're so used to that in cinema, and this movie just like, we're not giving that to you.
well, it's like the parable or whatever it's called, probably the wrong word, but you put a frog in boiling water, it's gonna jump out. But if you put a frog in lukewarm water and then turn the heat up, it never jumps out. So it's like he didn't have that moment of us throwing him in the fire. We were in the crock pot and it got turned up higher and higher until it got to the point where it was past the point of no return.
That's how you kill a frog. I never realized. I've been
As a fellow Southerner, that's a lie. You know how to kill a frog. No, I don't want to hear that.
lick a frog. Yes. Little frog gigging.
Oh, all right. So then, that being said, Stephen, I'll start with you. Based on the other movies, should it have won? So, if you guys don't know, the other movies were All the King's Men got a 7.4. It is one of the on IMDb. It is one of the lower ranking movies on IMDb. Battleground got a 7.4. The Heiress got an 8.1, so technically that was the best one according to the people. A Letter to Three Wives got a 7.7, and then 12 O'Clock High got a 7.7. So those were the ones that were nominated. There were other ones like Sands of Iwo Jima and other ones that were good too. But based on the 5 that was there, Stephen, do you think that it deserved to win, or do you prefer something else?
I mean, I've seen The Heiress, and I love the play. I love the movie. It's a great movie. I would say The Heiress, but I also would say there are 2 other movies in this up for the running that weren't even nominated. One is Just Me Being Ridiculous, On the Town, great musical, great film of a musical.
You guys have enough musicals. We don't need no more. Dang it!
And there's also a movie that called The Window, which is a really wonderful film noir from the
Yes, I completely agree with you on The Window. Like, I think, hot take, I don't think this should have won, and I'm not going to put it up with any of the other movies that were nominated. But I think The Window and Sleeper Come to the Stable. I think that should have also been at least nominated, because that is such a great movie. Come to the Stable.
Never seen that.
Never heard of it.
Oh my God. It's basically 2 nuns that come over from, this is post World War II, so from the destruction of Normandy, and come over and try to build a hospital for children. And basically, they get everyone to kind of, I don't want to say grift their way into it, but kind of grift their way into people donating the stuff necessary to make it. It's a phenomenal movie. You should go see it. It's one of my favorite. It's probably in the top 50 of movies.
Is Willie Stark's name on the hospital? Like, did they get him?
I mean, I'm sure these nuns were flexible enough to do that.
I'm gonna be I'll be the boring guy, and I'll say it should have won. I enjoyed it just because and to be fair, I've never seen any of the other movies, so maybe it's not fair for me to say. But the fact that, I do tend to look up, like, what people say, like the top 50, like movies from the 40s, 50s, and 60s or whatever. And I don't really even recognize these movies. Like, I do try to, like, I know I've come off as probably the dumb one of the 3 of us, but I do watch a lot of older movies. I just don't, there's just so many to watch. But I'll say it should have won just because I thought that the performances of Broderick and of Mercedes was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
and they won me over. So for me, I'll overlook the flatness of it, because if they weren't there, it would be like negative. It would have been even worse. But yeah, so that's kind of it then.
And anything she does, Mercedes, I mean, she's just incredible. Her filmography is just incredible. And she's just something else. And she usually plays those kind of hard, bitter kind of women, but she knows what she's doing with it.
All right, I'm trying to look to get the next movie ready.
On
our wheel.
What should it be? It would be
something
French, maybe.
Go ahead and cue the panic in your voices. The scream. All right, let me share my screen real quick. Let's see here.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
It is coming up
It
right
is.
now.
There it is.
All righty, so here we go. I like to not look, so I just took off all the King's Men, so I'm gonna look away, so I can't see it.
Oh no! If it's Gigi, I'm gonna come. No.
Ordinary People, 1980.
Oh yes. Have either of you seen
I
it?
have not seen this.
Never seen it.
Wow.
Is it a biography about me?
No, but it's a very Chicago movie.
Oh, it's got Donald Sutherland in it. Okay.
And it's got Mary Tyler Moore in a role that is not Mary Tyler Moore. It's a very incredible movie. You're gonna
Okay.
Hmm.
It says the film follows the disintegration of a wealthy family in Lake Forest, Illinois, following the accidental death of one of their two sons and attempted unaliving of the other. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it is quite.
Is this our first? No, this is our second movie from the 80s, right? We've bookended.
Yeah, we
both.
had Rain Man.
Because wasn't Rain Man 89?
Yeah.
So we bookended. We're good on the 80s. So that's exciting. At least we're back in color for next week.
Yeah.
I think you're really good. Judd Hirsch, Timothy Hutton. Timothy Hutton's amazing in this movie.
So awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it'll be good. Well, any final thoughts?
Music by Marvin Hamlish. So that'll be good.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Any final thoughts from you guys before we call it a night?
I would say go
My hot
watch
take.
Face the Crowd. I'd say that.
I would say go enjoy your 4th of July. Go ahead, James.
Oh yeah. Enjoy your 4th of July. But go watch Come to the Stable.
Come to the Stable. Yeah, there you go. I have to
A Face in the Crowd, all that stuff. Yeah. So all right, y'all. Well, if you made it this far, please do consider subscribing, liking, give us a comment. We do appreciate that feedback. And we'll see you guys next week. And as always, this is the Chicago Cinephiles signing out.